Welcome everybody to the latest issue of Retro Gamer magazine. I'm Darran Jones, the editor,
And I'm Albigés, associate editor.
and we've got some rather awesome stuff this week, haven't we?
Yeah, it's a good issue, man.
Do you want to take us on with the main news story, as that's obviously something that you're really excited about?
Yeah, so this was really cool, actually. Just a super rare fighting game prototype was discovered by someone who bought what they didn't know what it was at the time. They just bought a cartridge on an auction, and it turned out to be this completely unreleased game that is so kind of unfinished. It doesn't even have a title.
How did they work out? Was it something dragon related, or am I thinking of something else?
Is it Dragon's Heaven, I think they
Ah,
called it?
yeah. No, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But it's not nothing to do with like any of the other SNK games, is it?
No, that's it. It's a standalone thing, and it was looked to be doing some quite interesting things. It used like a D&D sort of chaotic, neutral,
Right.
kind of. There's a really interesting system to it, but I don't know. It looks really cool.
And we've got an interview with this is the guy who's discovered it, isn't it?
The guy who found it, yeah.
So that's pretty cool. We've carrying on with interviews as well. We've also got one with Carl Edwards, who he basically presents some of the WWE shows, and he also streams retro games. So we've chatted to him, which is pretty cool. We got back to the 90s and that as normal, and then obviously our big feature, which is the cover feature that you can see here, is with Masayuki Omura, who basically made the NES, and well, the NES was a pretty big deal, wasn't it? I mean, what's your earliest memories of it, Luke?
By association, I think we can say he's a pretty big deal as well.
Exactly.
I never actually had a NES back in the day. It was one of those consoles I came to late. By the time I got one, I'd kind of already been through the SNES, and I think even GameCube by that point. But
well, it didn't really have the impact over here, did it? That it did in America and Japan. It was everywhere. No. I mean, I can recall going to Boots, and I'd literally play on it until they told me to get off. And but it was one of those things where I had an Amstrad at the time, like you, too. And it was a huge jump to go from like $1.99, $9.99 games to like 40 quid games. So you can kind of see, and I think they kind of messed up the distribution a little bit in the UK, in Europe compared to overseas in Japan. But I mean, at the end of the day, this system sold like 60 million units.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a huge deal when you consider that. Even though the NES didn't have a huge impact in, like, say, Europe, for example, it pretty much outsold all the big 8-bit computers of the time by like half. So. And without, obviously, the NES, you wouldn't have Super Mario Brothers, you wouldn't have Mega Man. Yeah, so huge deal. So we were lucky enough to basically, Paul Drury was able to speak to him, and yeah, the end result is a really, really cool feature. Mm-hmm. Moving on, we've got Burger Time. Is this something you ever played in the arcades? Did you ever used to make burgers?
I did a little bit. I was never that big a fan, to be honest.
Oh, I liked it. It's really bloody difficult though, because obviously it takes ages to actually walk over the things, and I can remember as well that half the time it was never working in my local arcade because they actually used to use cassette tapes for the very, very early versions, and you had to basically preload them every day, whereas obviously with a lot of the arcade games at the time you just switch a button and it would come on. So half the time the one in my local arcade was never working, but It was good, and I do like beef burgers. So,
is that how you judge and rate games?
Exactly. How tasty they look, and what food you can make in them. Moving on, we've got 3D Ant Attack, which was it was a pretty big deal on the Spectrum when it first came out, and this is a big deal as well. This was basically the first officially licensed Star Wars game. Mm-hmm. It came out, when did it come out? Let's have a look, 1982. So that would have been 2 years after Empire Strikes Back. I'm not sure why they chose to ignore Star Wars. Those games did follow, but I guess it was the closest game, and Return of the Jedi was just around the corner, so people would have been aware for that. It's effectively Defender, so I don't know if you've played it, but you basically zip across in your snowspeeder, and you have to shoot out the AT-ATs, and they have like a really tiny like hitbox to take them down. Sadly, you can't go round and round their legs like you could in the later games, but that was all to come.
I think we're looking at it, the reason they've gone for Empire over the original Star Wars is you've got something much more iconic. If you look at the Death Star, it's just a round thing when you shrink it down to pixels like that. Whereas the AT-AT is such a clear, notable form. Like
even if it looks a little bit like a camel there, but
or a llama, who knows? Was Minter involved in this?
I'm not sure actually, although I wouldn't be surprised if we tried to make a clone of it. Moving on, we've got License to Thrill. This is an odd one because even though it's called The Godfather, if you look at the first screenshot, it's obvious that that's Godfather 3. And what they kind of did was they took elements from all three films and then hashed them all together. And it's a kind of an Operation Wolf clone. It's not something which I played massively back in the day because it was an Amiga exclusive, and I think I still had my Amstrad at the time. But
Right.
it was quite popular with Amiga owners who were probably upset that they couldn't play Sonic the Hedgehog. Moving on, Scramble. We thought we'd do a centerfold piece this one because
You've gone mad. You've lost your tiny mind.
they just look better though, don't they? Because you can see the full game,
Oh, exactly.
and
That's how the game was presented. That's how it should be presented by us.
I just like it. So we thought we'd give that a try, and then you probably remember that we did a history piece on Nintendo about 4 or 5 months back now. So this was our chance to basically do one for Sega. Big Sega fan, Luke?
Oh yeah. Mega Drive was my first actual console, I think.
Oh,
back in the
really?
day, yeah.
I remember I brought a Master System and I bought it from my auntie's club book, and I paid £45 for a copy of Shinobi, which was nowhere near as good as the arcade game. I was really disappointed about that. But
Was it the same as the Game Gear version? Because the Game Gear one was really good.
No. The Game Gear one is excellent, but no, this it's okay. But I think the thing is that they give you an energy bar instead of the normal lives, but you kind of move really slowly across the screen, and it just didn't have the same because I pretty much grew up in arcades, and I loved how fast-paced Shinobi was, and this was kind of like walking through treacle. But good fun all the same. But yeah, not quite. In fact, there's a screenshot of it. Not on the same par as the or even the Revenge of Shinobi, which came out on Mega Drive. But yeah, it's a great system. This basically looks at like all the consoles that they brought out, where it's gone wrong for them, where they're now obviously a third-party publisher, who they're mainly in the PC market now, aren't they, and making Sonic games.
It seems that way, yeah.
Which is a bit of a shame, but you have to go with what's working for you. So this is our next feature. Now this is a game that I've not actually played, mainly because it's a strategy one and it requires you to use your brain, and I don't use my brain for anything other than shooting things really quickly. So it was a big deal at the time. It was one of the earliest examples of it. Is it the 4 times genre they call it? 4 times strategy?
4 times strategy, that's new to me.
It's here you go, look, 4 times. So it was apparently the term was originally coined for Master of Orion because you're kind of managing all these different things at the same time.
Right.
But there were other examples of it which are shown here. But what they are doing is they're remaking it. Basically, the guy in charge of the new company loved it so much back in the day that when it came up for license, he just bought it. So that's pretty cool, isn't it?
I'd love to do that.
Yeah. I'd love to buy Outrun.
Exactly.
But
well, no one else doing anything with Bomber, and I might as well have it, right?
well, yeah, that makes sense because Konami have pretty much left it for. I think what was the last game they brought on it? Like an iOS one, like a match-free game or something.
Oh, there was one of those. There was a couple of like live arcade ports and stuff, which were pretty weak, but. I just want new Bomberman games, Darren. That's all I want in life.
Konami, make a new Bomberman game, please. Otherwise, Luke's going to be upset. Ghouls and Ghosts, then. You must have played this. This is a classic.
Yeah. You know what I'm really bad at, Darren?
What?
Ghouls and Ghosts.
Really?
Yeah. No, I like to think I'm quite good at a lot of games.
I think the thing is though is that because as much as I do like the Ghosts and Goblins series, I think the problem with them is that everything's random, isn't it? So there's no proper like enemy placements in that. So the amount you can do one run and then it will happen completely differently because some sod just come out of the ground and you just can't do anything about it. And I don't know. I always likened particularly Super Ghouls and Ghosts to like when I used to play PGA Tour golf. Now it
Okay,
seems an
right.
odd reference, but
You're
the
going to
reason
have to take me through on this.
well,
one.
the reason behind it is that basically when I play PGA Tour golf, sometimes on the first couple of holes I kind of like nail it, and basically I do everything right, and then
Okay.
I have and then the entire game is like brilliant. And it's the same with this. If I get to like the second level on Super Calls and Ghosts without dying, odds are I'm going to complete the game. Whereas other times everything just goes wrong, and I'm constantly dying, and it's absolutely massively frustrating. But it had a load of conversions, far more than I actually realised, along with one of the few super graphics ones for the super pumped up PC Engine, and that takes us over to Fatal Fury, which is more your thing, isn't it? You like your fighting games.
I do like my fighting games. Fatal Fury, outside of Guru, isn't one I was ever massively fond of. Like, I don't think it was really
It started off
that
slow, didn't
good.
it?
Yeah, it was very slow. Like, the early games aren't great at all, but once you get up to like Real Bout and stuff, it becomes quite cool. And Guru is literally one of my favourite fighters ever made.
Because initially it was going to be a kind of successor to the original Street Fighter, wasn't it? Because it was by the same director. And then I think it wasn't until about 3-4 games in that they suddenly realised that no, we should be making like proper competitive fighting games. And that's when they upped the ante. But yeah, like Luke says, Guru Mark of the Wolves is, alongside Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, it's probably the best 2D fighting game ever made, isn't it?
It's neck and neck between those two for me. Like,
Absolutely brilliant.
they're both top tier fighters.
So as you can see here, we've got all the characters that have appeared in the series, and all the action typically takes place in an American city called Southtown. And it covers everything, including a look at there's a new one coming out soon, isn't there? Fatal Fury, or am I getting confused with King of Fighters?
You're in King of Fighters mode. Yeah, there's a new King of Fighters.
Well, Fatal Fury characters are in King of Fighters, aren't they? So
a few of them, yeah. And I think you can look at it as SNK Destiny and Water again. Like, if King of Fighters does well, they've already said they'll look to go back to a lot of their older properties as well.
Yeah, because they've been bought out now by a new company, haven't they?
Yeah, and they've gone back to just being called SNK rather than Playmore.
Okay, then moving on, we've got a Minority Report on the Commodore 64 with a look at the amazing Bird Mother, which is in the magazine because it's an amazing game and not because I like birds. And
Doubt.
and that leaves us on to the Need for Speed, which is the feature you wrote this month.
Yeah,
so tell us about
isn't
speed
about
running.
the Need for Speed. Interestingly, so I've basically been following Games Done Quick for a while, which is a big speedrunning event. I've thought, would it be cool to get in touch with all these guys that are breaking world records and breaking games and clearing Mario 64 without getting a single damn star.
Well, didn't somebody just recently completed Super Mario Bros, didn't they?
Well, I think people have finished it before.
Yeah, but in like record time though. Wasn't it like 5 minutes or something stupid?
A good top-end Mario Brothers NES run is around the 5-minute mark. This guy did it in, I think, 4:57. Which is a new world record for Darbian, and yeah, he's interviewed in the feature, which is really cool.
So obviously, to an old-fashioned person like myself,
yeah,
using warp pipes and that's clearly cheating, isn't it?
I'll come off it.
But it is, though, isn't it? Because you're not playing the entire game.
The thing is, within speedrunning, there are different categories for that kind of thing. There's a 100% category for Mario, say, which involves finishing every level.
Right.
So this guy just got the any percent record, and any percent means you can just, however you want, get to the credits.
Right. So technically, he's not cheating because that is possible to do in the game, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not as though he's hacking up something.
No, any percent like glitches and not hacks so much, but like tricks and tips, and you can get through the game in really ridiculous ways. That's all valid in any percent. Like, I mean, the Pokemon run, for instance, they finished the game in 3 minutes by tricking the game. Basically.
I wish I could complete a Pokemon game in 3 minutes.
You just make your daughters do it for you. I've seen you. You just farm it out to them while you watch some birds or something. Like, ridiculous.
Well, they like playing them more than I do. Okay, then. So moving on, the last feature of the issue is an interview with Ed Fries, and he's. Oh, it is Freeze, isn't it?
You got burgers and fries on the mind, haven't you?
I even made a point of this the other day, didn't I? I told everyone that it's actually Freeze and not Fry. So apologies, Ed, if you're watching
It's nearly lunchtime and now you're hungry.
I am hungry and I've got to go for an hour walk. So basically he was heavily involved in the Xbox, but one of the things that he does like doing, which is quite interesting, is he likes to make new versions of old games on old systems. Yeah, demakes. So he's made Halo on the Atari 2600. and he's currently just porting Rally X, which was a top-down racing game, and that's either because the version that existed before wasn't very good, or there wasn't a version. But he's an interesting guy. He's got a lot to say about how the games industry has changed over the last 15 odd years.
Pedant mode, isn't it? Rally Cross.
Yeah, probably. I can't.
I've always called it Rally Cross.
There's way too many. I can't remember everything, and that basically leaves us with the review section where we've got Star Fox Zero, which is a lot better than everybody says it is, because it is. I love it, and it's just a cool unreal shooter. And we've got Homebrew, which has got actually this looks amazing. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the Homebrew simply because I don't have a system to run the games on. But every now and then, I see a game like this Hessian, and it's like, oh man, I need to play that. It looks absolutely astonishing. It's always amazing what people can basically do on. Well, again, you look at the sort of games we were playing on, like the Commodore 64 and that, and it just like this sort of stuff leaves them standing. And that's it basically for this month. So tune in next month when we've got some really exciting stuff, which we're going to keep as a secret for the time being. And that's your lot. So I'm Darran Jones.
I'm Luke.
And we'll see you very soon, guys. Bye.